What's happening, sales ascender? Sean here. In this video, I'm going to share how to close more by never helping prospects end the interview. This is so valuable, especially when a sales call gets a little weird. Not sure if you've ever been in that place where you kind of get to the end of the sales conversation and then it's like, and you feel kind of stuck. Well, in this video, I'm going to give you a 3-letter acronym that you can put in play today and crush deals sooner than later. Stay tuned. What's happening, sales ascender? Sean here, back at you with another high ticket tune-up. Make sure and smash that like button, feed those algorithm gods, because it's just good. Like, everybody needs to communicate better, and this is one of those videos that's going to help you do that, especially when you're in high ticket sales. So today we want to talk about this: how to close more by never helping prospects to end the interview, right? I remember so many sales calls that I was always on, and I would get to this place when I first started my sales career, and I get to this place in the calls where they would just get weird. And all of a sudden the prospect would be like, okay, that sounds good. And I'd be like, cool. And then I would wimp out, right? I'd hit wimp junction, and then I wouldn't actually go forward with the call. I wouldn't do the next steps. And that really hurt me. But today's question actually came in from Annie, and Annie asked this. She said, Sean, sometimes on sales calls, the vibe gets weird. Yeah, I've experienced that. And if you have, drop a comment in the chats below. Tell me about it. I would love to hear these stories. Remember, this is always a conversation. And the vibe gets weird and awkward, and I don't know what to do. Can you help? Yes, I can, right? In most every single sales conversation, at one point or another, the salesperson or the prospect usually kind of gets stumped. And when that happens, we need to have some sort of a guideline or a guidepost or a system that we can follow to get us to the place where we need to go. So what is the system? Very simply, search for the gap, right? In every single conversation that you've ever had, there's always what we call the gap in professional selling. And what the gap stands for is 3 things, right? It stands for guts, action, and peace. And so I just want to go back and share, where does the awkwardness come from in a sales conversation? It's typically the conversation is going to become awkward because of one of 3 things. Number one, it could be because of skepticism. So your prospect could be really skeptical about what it is that you have to offer, and then it could get weird. The second thing that can happen is uncertainty, right? You as a salesperson can be uncertain and convey that through your languaging patterns, and then your prospect's picking up on the uncertainty and they're like, run away, right? So that's the second thing that can happen. The third thing that can create the awkwardness in a sales conversation is hostility, where the prospect is actually mad at you for one reason or another. There's always outside influential factors that come from this. Sometimes it's a hidden agenda that maybe the prospect has, or even you as a sales professional have, and bring into the kind of the rules of the game as we're setting up the agenda for the call. Prospect might not like that. It could cause skepticism, uncertainty, or hostility. And those are really the 3 reasons why awkwardness appears in a sales conversation. And so here's how we do it. Number one, guts. How do we use this framework, the GAP framework? So when the conversation gets weird, don't chicken out. Don't hit whip junction, right? If you don't have this system in place today, put it in place today. Remember the word gap. Search for the gap. First one is guts. We're going to call it out, right? It's uncomfortable. It doesn't feel good. That's okay. We know because we're recognizing the situation. There's awkwardness. And it came from, like I said, skepticism, uncertainty, or hostility. And so if we know that, then we have to have the guts to be like, yo, I'm not ending this meeting because I feel like this person actually has a problem that I can solve. So I'm going to take the minute and gather my guts, and then I'm going to do the next one, which is take action. So first of all, don't hit whip junction and don't chicken out of the call. That's step 1. Step 2 is let's take a little bit of action. And here's how. I want to give you 3 frameworks that you can use when you're calling stuff out. When things get a little bit weird, remember those 3 things. So awkwardness in the call, that weird feeling, comes from skepticism, uncertainty, and hostility. Skepticism, uncertainty, and hostility. Let's use those as our vice to call out the awkwardness. So it sounds like John, prospect, right? Annie, man, I feel like there's a little bit of skepticism coming from somewhere, whether it's me or you, or it must have been something like I've done. Could you share more? Do you feel it too? And all of a sudden that prospect now has to take ownership in the awkwardness with you. And this allows you to flow the conversation over the speed bump and get to this place where they're now like, yes, I feel totally skeptical. I think you're this or that, whatever comes out of them. Guess what? Now you've released the floodgate. The awkwardness floats away very quickly. And then your job as the sales professional is to now start asking more questions. Where did the skepticism come from? Why is that happening? Like boom, 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 boom. Just keep asking questions because you'll get through it. And then they'll share the skepticism. Second thing you can do is you can talk about uncertainty, right? So you can talk about how that you feel skepticism. The second thing you can say is, I just feel like I'm picking up some uncertainty about you. Maybe looking at our product and service, maybe that's not the right fit for you. Like, am I reading this right? And all of a sudden, you're speed checking your prospect, and they're going to be like, yeah, I'm actually really uncertain about this because of this or that or this or the next thing. Guess what? Now you have the real reason on the table to have a really strong conversation about. So that's the second one. And then the third one here is when you're taking action using this G.A.P method, it's very simply hostility. Hey, Bill, I'm sensing a little bit of hostility. I feel like you're kind of upset. Like, is there something that I did, or is there something else going on in your world? And so if you feel the hostility, then they're going to say, well, actually, Joe just came into my office and she barked down my throat about this. And I'm sorry, I don't mean to be taken out. Now you know that's where the awkwardness came from in the sales conversation. When you know that, guess what? You can move forward. Oh, hey, like you and Joe seem to kind of like have to work things out. I can understand you need to go have a chat with her and figure that stuff out. Should we reset another meeting? Yeah, that would be really helpful, Sean. Okay, cool. Grab out your calendar. Bam, clear future. We set up another meeting and we're on to the next one. And that's really where it comes from. And so whenever you get into, and lastly is peace. I just want to remind you, after you've taken these actions and you've had these conversations, have peace about this. Why? Because you did all that you could during the sales conversation to not leave the meeting early. Do not end the interview early. Don't chicken out. Don't hit Wimp Junction. It's not worth it, especially if you can solve the problem for somebody. So when you understand that you have the guts to not hit Wimp Junction, you take the action, talking about the awkwardness in the environment with one of those three things. Remember, it comes from skeptical or skepticism, uncertainty, and hostility are the kind of the three main emotions that will create awkwardness in the sales conversation. And if you can feel which one of those is it skepticism? Is it uncertainty? Is it hostility? See if you can define that during the call that out, and then get the piece, co-creating the answer to the mess that's made or the awkwardness that comes. And what will happen is a couple of things. Number one, you won't end the interview early. Number two, the prospect will have way more respect, trust, and likability with you. And number three, you'll get over the speed bump and you'll be moving in a direction in which you can actually go down and close a deal. So last thing again is just guts, action, and peace. Have the guts not to hit Wim Junction. Take the action based on, is it skepticism, uncertainty, or hostility? And then have peace about the fact that you did all that you could and you had a great conversation with your prospect, and you know that you're going that much closer to closing a deal. And with that said, my friends, you've just been tuned up. And actually, Wayne said, awesome. Hey, Wayne, good to see you, brother. Hope you're still doing good. I just sent you a booking link. I'm excited to pump a conversation out with you. I got some really cool stuff I want to share with you. So yeah, look for that. If you haven't booked one yet, please go do that. And by the way, remember this as you're listening, there's a sales ascender inside of each and every single one of you. And make sure to smash that like button. Right? Subscribe to the channel, the YouTube channel, right? Because this is something that everybody needs. And you can put G.A.P into your world today. And guess what? You're going to win. With that said, I can't wait to see you tomorrow. You're awesome. Kick ass today. Go close deals and go FlowChat.